If you're looking for a good project to do in the late winter, early spring, this is a great one. I've got this stand of cottonwood trees on my property, and pretty soon they'll be budding out and putting on leaves for the year. But before they do, right before they start to bud out, and even if they have started to bud out a little bit, it's still okay. I'm going to come in here and cut a few of these limbs off, and I'm going to use these limbs to plant new cottonwood trees elsewhere on the property. And to do this project, all I need are a set of loppers like this I've got in my hand and a shovel. So from here, I'm going to find an adequate size limb. You know, you can, if I had bigger loppers, the two-handled loppers, if I had a bigger set of shears, I could go for the bigger limb. But really all I'm going to do is find a limb that I can get cut, and then just and cut it off just like that. Now it's important to make sure that the limb that you choose is still alive, and I can do that by just rubbing my thumbnail across it, make sure it's still green underneath the bark, or this one's even starting to bud out. And so once I've got my limb cut, from there all I'm going to do to make sure that this thing has the best chance of survival, I'm going to trim off all the little limbs off of it. And so what I'm left with when I'm done is just like a stick from this cottonwood. And so from there, I'm going to take this stick and I'm going to plant it in the ground. One thing you can try with the excess limbs that you cut off, and it doesn't really hurt anything to do it, I'm going to stick these just in the ground randomly, and maybe they'll take, maybe they won't, but we're going to try to see if they'll grow as well. By trimming the limbs off this pole I just cut, it's going to force the energy from this tree. Instead of making new leaves on these new limbs, it's going to force this tree into making new roots, and then when it's ready, it'll start producing little buds where these limbs should be. So I've got my pole cut, I've trimmed off all the limbs. Now it's just time to plant this thing. I came over here earlier and pre-dug a hole. It's about 1 foot deep, and before I put this in, I'm going to go ahead and pour water in the hole. And then once I fill the hole up with water and it gets the ground good and saturated, we'll put the pole inside in the hole, cover it back up with dirt, and then come out periodically once or twice a week, depending on how dry it's going to be or how wet it's going to be, and then water it. And hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll see this thing starting to make buds. And once it does start making buds, there's a good chance this tree is going to take, and it's going to make us a big beautiful tree here in the future. Now cottonwood trees are an easy tree to do this with. They're easy to transplant like this, and that's why I like using them. Plus, if I get these trees off my own property, I've got an endless supply of these poles I can use. But the timing is the most important thing. You've got to do it as these trees start putting on buds early in the year, when they start coming back to life after a winter of dormancy. So it's a good, easy, quick project to do. It's good to get the kids involved in something like that as well, and it'll be a cheap source of trees on your place in the future.